thing too is I'm a very confident woman. Okay. So confidence to me is super attractive. And like when I go out places, like whether it's to the gas station or the car wash or the grocery store or whatever, Black men just have this confidence about them. They could be boot ass ugly and they will come up and spit all the game on you.
That's a fact.
And I'm just like, did you just come up to me looking like this right now? And I'm like, you have got all the confidence in the world. And white men don't do that here.
Yeah.
You know, they don't do that.
Do they do that in Canada? Do white men do that in Canada?
Not like how Black men are here. Like Black men, they know what they want. And they will come up to you and they will talk to you. And like, to me, that's very attractive.
Gotcha.
So I was just like, okay.
Hey, everybody. It's your girl, DJ with Plan for Keeps Dating App and Podcast. And today I have Erika on the show for Dating Chronicles, where you give a funny, crazy, or lesson learned dating story. But before we dive into all of that, I like to learn about all of my guests. You gave us a pretty good overview on the form.
Okay.
I want to learn a little bit about you, kind of what you're doing here in Atlanta, all of that good stuff.
Okay. So I was born in Georgia, but I left when I was 12, moved to Canada, lived there for about 20 years, got married, had a business. That closed down. It was a gym. Okay. COVID was not good to my business. Yeah. So that closed down, and I still have family here, and I have family in Mississippi. So I had no kids. I was divorced. And I thought to myself, like, what am I doing in Canada? I want to move back closer to family. You know, the whole COVID thing, everybody wanted to be like closer to family. So I sold everything, packed up my dogs and everything in my Honda Civic, drove down, started fresh, bought all new furniture. It was like super freeing. So it happened like a year and a half ago. So I'm still kind of new back to the U.S. because Canada and the U.S., even though we're like neighbors, it's totally different. Totally different.
Yeah, I would love to.
Very different. And especially with the men too, like very different. So that's when I seen that, you know, you were looking for, you know, dating and relationships, I'm like, oh, this is my jam right now.
Got you. Okay.
Dope. So I'm a real estate agent now. I work with eXp Realty. I mostly do listings. I'm still really active. I don't like training clients anymore, but I'm still active in the gym, you know, boxing, doing yoga, bodybuilding. I lost 100 pounds. That's how I got into the fitness industry. And so yeah, it's a long story, but that's a little gist of it.
We're gonna be friends after this.
Oh, we definitely are.
Okay, good.
Okay. I got you, girl. I got you. Okay.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. So again, you are here for Dating Chronicles, where you give a funny, crazy, or lesson learned dating story.
Okay.
What comes to mind for you?
I have so many. Like I have a lot. So I was single when I moved here, I was single for probably 2 years, and I've dated around. It took like once I moved, I want to get settled, focus on me. Because I was always jumping from relationship to relationship. Like I was never single for a short amount of time. So I'm like, all right, Erika, clearly this isn't working for you. So you need to be single, focus on you. Okay. And I did a ton of reading. I did, you know, just to like self-discovery and just kind of figuring out what I wanted. And I watched a lot of like YouTube videos on like dating and like what to say, what not to say. And basically I just felt like the men are different here too. So anyways, I started dating. I went on the dating apps, and there's I always had too much of an expectation, and I always had like a checklist of like, okay, when I went on the app, like if a dude had his shirt like off on the app, swipe, not interested. Like I would never swipe right, because I'm like, okay, this dude clearly knows he's hot. And, you know, like what kind of message, like, what are you trying to attract? Like, are you just looking to fuck? Or are you looking, you know, for something serious, you know?
Gotcha.
So I don't know. I was just a little too picky, but
really looking at those videos and reading this, because I know a lot of articles that they give will tell you don't swipe right on a guy with their shirt off. Don't.
Yeah. Because I was looking for like, I'll be 38 in a week. And I'm like, okay, I want to get married again. I don't have any kids. Like, I want to be a mom one day. So I'm like, all right, I'm looking for something serious. Like, I'm not looking for a fuck boy. Can I say that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I think it's cool to be intentional.
Oh, I was totally intentional.
Yeah.
Dating with intention. So I went out with this one guy. This is the worst story ever. Okay, so this is the worst. This is probably the worst, but I'll never forget this story. So went out with this guy. He lives here. And I'm like, okay. He's like, I met him on, I think it was Bumble. I think I met him on Bumble.
Okay.
I don't know. I met him on a dating app. Attractive guy. His pictures look really nice. Like, you know, he was around, I think he was maybe a couple of years older than I was. Had a good job. Owned his own place. Like, he checked all the boxes. I'm like, okay, this dude seems pretty good. So we were talking back and forth for a little bit. And I don't like to talk too long on the apps because you don't really get the essence of the person.
I'm the same way. And people will say that that's not a good thing.
No.
I agree with you.
I don't like talking on the apps for a long time because you don't get the essence of the person.
What's your limit? Because for me, like,
a couple days.
I'm the same way. Okay, so I'll literally get off the app in a couple of days. I need to do a FaceTime something.
Yeah, like, so after this date, I started doing a FaceTime with people because before that, I would just meet them at like a coffee shop, something quick. I always had something else to go to after.
Okay.
So like, there was an end date. It was never like they knew that I had to be like, I had to leave.
Gotcha.
So like, I would meet them like maybe like afternoon, or I always had something planned.
Okay.
So that way I had an out. And they weren't like, well, let's go back to your place. No.
That's
you know,
crazy. Okay.
Yeah. So I would always have an out. I would always have an out of like, you know, whenever I'd meet them on a date.
Got you.
So, okay, what was I saying again?
Okay, so we're going back to the guy.
The guy. Okay. So I'm gonna call him Q, okay? But I'm not gonna say his name. I'm gonna call him Q. And
he like popped up in my head.
no, I'm gonna call him Q. So he was an attractive guy, and like I need a guy that takes care of himself, like his body, like exercise, because I work out too. Like I can't have a guy that just walks all day. Like no, like I'm in the gym like 5 days a week. Walking is not enough for me. Like you need to do something else other than walk. Because I once went on a date with a guy that said he rode a stationary bike, and I'm like, okay, I mean that's cool, but like I'm over here like lifting 5 days a week, and you're riding a bike. Like that's not enough for me. You know, I don't want to say that sounds bad. We're not gonna mesh.
You don't think you can interchange? Like maybe he'll do a weightlifting.
I mean, if he
in a station, then you can do the stationary bike with. I know for me, I gained a lot of weight, but I lost 100 pounds.
Oh, good for you.
Also, several years ago.
Okay.
It's been very hard recently to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
But I know basically what's it cardio I can't do.
Yeah.
So are you the same way? Like you don't see yourself being able to do like stationary?
I mean, I can, but when a man is in his 40s and that's all he does for exercise is a stationary bike, I'm just like, okay, like, can't you do some push-ups or like some squats or some lunges? I mean, I can understand not wanting to go to a gym. I totally get that. But like a stationary bike is not enough if you really want to if you want to stay into shape, you know, like do some push-ups, do some jumping, like do something, you know what I mean? Like I'm like going 5 days a week and hitting the gym hard. Like the stationary bike's not enough for me,
I feel you.
You know, but I don't want to be shallow and say that. I mean, that's cool for him.
Yeah.
But we probably won't mesh.
Okay, got you.
You know what I mean? So anyways, but this is another guy. So going back to Q, he was doing CrossFit, you know, he was in shape. So I'm like, okay, this guy takes care of himself. He's got a good job, you know, check, right?
Yeah.
So our first date, we went out to sushi. Okay. So we went out to sushi, really nice spot. And, you know, I look people in the eye when I talk to them. Okay. And on the date, I noticed that he was like constantly looking around, and I'm just like saying to him, like, I'm like, what are you looking at? Like, because I'm very blunt. Like, I just kind of speak my mind. Like, if you like me, you don't. So like on the date, I was like, are you okay? And he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, you're constantly looking around. And he's just like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I was in the military and I'm just, you know, like always like aware of my surroundings. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And the conversation flowed pretty well. Like, you know, he was a gentleman, and, you know, I didn't catch any red flags. Like the conversation went really well.
Okay.
So after the conversation, we went outside because they were closing the restaurant, and like there was like this little like fountain there with like, you know, some seats and stuff. I think I can't even remember where this was at, but it wasn't too far. It was somewhere in like by like Cumberland Mall or something like that. So anyways, and we continued to talk, and the conversation flowed. And I was like, okay, this guy seems pretty cool. You know, I'm like physically attracted to him, mentally attracted to him. So I'm like, all right. So we planned to have another date. So we met on a Thursday. Okay. We met on a Thursday. We went to sushi Thursday.
Okay.
Friday, he asked me on a date. We went out. I can't even remember where we went, but we went out the next night.
Okay.
And at this point, he never kissed me Thursday. I typically don't like to kiss on the first date.
Okay.
So he never kissed me on Thursday. We went out Friday. Where did we go Friday? Honestly, I can't even remember, but it gets better. The story gets better. So we went out Friday and we had a good time.
Okay.
He still never kissed me.
Okay.
And then he asked me Saturday if I wanted to go to the Atlanta United game.
Okay.
Never been. So he's like, oh, it's a vibe. Let's go. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let's go to Atlanta United. So he picked me up.
Okay.
And his like nice little Jeep, So of course, like, had the top down and everything, thinking he's all cool and stuff. So anyways, picks me up in the Jeep. We go to the Atlanta United game. And I got to backtrack one more time.
Okay.
So he was leaving to go on a work trip on Sunday morning. And he was going to be gone for 5 days. So we met on a Thursday. And he was leaving on Sunday to go on a work trip. So he works at like different like hospitals and stuff. And he was getting ready to go to Hawaii. And he frequently travels all the time. And he's like, oh man, I'm having really fun. It sucks. I'm going to go on a work trip. I won't see you for 5 days. And then he was like, oh, you should come. And I was like, yeah, right. Like, you're joking. I was like, no way. And then we just kind of like brushed it off. Went to the soccer game on Saturday.
Okay.
And we were having a good time, and I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, was he actually like being serious about like me coming to Hawaii with him? Mm-hmm. And then we get to the soccer game, and okay, so I have this thing where if like, how you can be instantly turned off by somebody?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what happened. So we kissed before we went to the soccer game because he picked me up. I went to his place, dropped my car off. And he made me like a coffee. We were kind of hanging out or whatever at his place a little bit. And then he ended up kissing me. So I'm like, okay, the kiss was good.
Okay.
We get to the soccer game. I don't know what had happened from his place to the soccer game. He like had the worst breath ever. Like horrible. Like to the point where I was so turned off.
Did you realize it during the kiss?
No. So
okay.
I think he must have drank like coffee, because I know sometimes like when I drink a coffee, like I'll have like horrible breath.
Okay.
So I think like something must have happened, but his breath was awful. And I was just like, okay, I don't want to embarrass the dude. Like, I don't want to say anything. And I was just like, do you want some water? Like, I was just kind of like trying to low key just be like, are you thirsty? Like, like that, like, do you want some water? He's like, no, I'm fine. I'm like, are you sure? Like, have some, like, because like, it was just turning me off to the point where I'm just like, I don't want to get turned off by this dude because his breath stinks. So anyways, I go to the bathroom, and I don't know if he picked up on it or something, but then he was just like, yeah, he's like, I'm going to go grab a drink. I'm like, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm like, give me one too. So I went to the bathroom, and I started thinking about like, was he being serious about, me going to Hawaii? So I was just like, fuck it. I'm like, why not? So I go back out and to like where we were seated, and I looked at him. I was just like, were you like joking about, me coming to Hawaii with you? And, and he was like, no, you should come. And I was like, well, I have to get somebody to watch my dogs for me. And he's like, I have enough, points through, like my Sky Mile, like Delta and stuff. Like, you could totally come with me. But I'm flying from Atlanta to Detroit and then Detroit to Hawaii because he's like, he wants to fly first class. Red flag number one. So, you know what I'm talking about, right? So he books my ticket. We so he was all excited about me going with him.
Okay.
And, I'm like, he's like, well, like, let's just like, let's leave like the game. We go home, like, we'll go to your place, we'll pack your stuff, and then you'll come over Saturday night. And then because we got to leave early Sunday morning. So I'm like, well, let's finish watching the game,
Right.
So we finished watching the game a little bit, and then we drove back to my place.
Okay.
I had my neighbor watch my dogs for me for a couple of days.
Okay.
And I packed up my stuff, and I was like, I'm going to fucking Hawaii. You know what I mean? Met this guy on a Thursday, okay? And I kid you not, and I'm sleeping at his house Saturday night and getting ready to go to Hawaii with him on Sunday. So I've known him for like maybe 72 hours.
So spontaneous.
Okay.
I love that.
But you know what? I was like, whatever. I was like, what other opportunity am I going to have to go to Hawaii that's paid for? And I'm not like the gold digger type of person or whatever. I'm just kind of like, what do you want from me kind of thing? Like, what's your intentions? But I'm like, okay, like, he asked me to go. It's on points. And so he was flying first class and he didn't have enough points to do first class for me. So I was like, fuck it. I don't care. I'll sit and coach. I'm going to Hawaii. I don't give a shit. I'll go and coach. So he books a ticket. And so of course I'm in like 35F. Okay. Like he's in first class and like one of those pods where like lays down and everything. And little did I know Detroit to Hawaii is like a 6-hour flight. Like it was a long flight.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. So, anyways, soon as we got to the airport, that's when shit started going downhill. Like, this is Atlanta airport, okay? It's busy as hell. Like, and me, I'm just so, like, easygoing, like, so go with the flow. Like, I mean, if I gotta wait in a line, I gotta wait in a line. He's like, oh, I got TSA, pre-check and all this. And he was like, I'm like, okay, you do your TSA, I'll meet you at the gate. Like, it's fine. I was like, I'll go wait with the peasants and like, like regular lineup, because he was all like going off about TSA and everything. And so he was like, well, buy clear. And I was like, I don't really want to buy clear. And he said, it's only like you can cancel it after, like a certain amount of time or whatever. Because he didn't want to wait. He didn't want to wait in line. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, it's Sunday morning, super early. It's busy. And I even told him, I was like, I don't mind meeting you at the gate. Like, that's totally fine. If you want to go through security with your TSA, like, I'll go wait in the lineup. Like, I'm fine. So he was like, no. Like, you got to do this. You got to do that. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to argue with this guy. So that was red flag number 1. 0 patience. Wanting to get through Atlanta airport. And just like, and he was rude to like, the person behind the counter at the ticket agent. Wow. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, what reason do you have to be rude? Like, why are you being nasty? Like, it was almost like he had like this sense of entitlement. Yeah. And like this attitude. So we get, I get the clear, just to shut him up. And then we go through, security and stuff. And you could just like, when you can feel somebody's like energy and like, they're just kind of like this, they had this like chip on their shoulder. Like it was just, and me, I'm just like, I'm happy. I'm going to Hawaii. Like, I don't give a shit right now. You could literally like take my bags and I wouldn't even care. I'll buy new stuff. Like, I don't even care.
I'm sensing you did not feel this. I know you said on the first day he was looking around crazy, but other than that, you didn't feel this energy before.
No, it was as soon as we got to the airport, it was like, he was like go mode. Like, it was like, it had like, like I had to do all this stuff. And I'm like, we're going to make our flight. So this is what happened. He wanted to get through security quickly so he could go to the Sky Lounge. Okay. So we get to the Sky Lounge. I've never been. I'm just like, okay, we're going to go to
the Sky Lounge, not fly.
So like the Delta Sky Lounge, like you've never done like where they get like breakfast and coffee. No. Oh girl, it's a vibe. Okay. Really? Yes. So like, of course he had to pay for me to get into the Sky Lounge. He got in with his, Sky fucking miles, because like that's all he has is the Sky Miles. And so anyways, we get in there and there's like a buffet of food, like good food. Like there's everything. There's fruit, like there's like hot food, like it's a whole buffet. Mm-hmm. And you can have like mimosas, there's champagne, it's all free. So me, like I'm like so cheap. Like if I go anywhere, like I'm stuffing stuff in my bag. Okay. Like, so I get in there and I'm thinking like, we're on this flight. I'm like, I'm taking apples. I got some oranges. And he's looking at me like, what are you doing? I'm like, this is free. I'm like, I'm taking this shit. And he's looking at me like, okay, what did I sign up for? But I did not care. Do not care. Like, I mean, if they have a bowl of fruit out, I'm taking it. Like
I feel you.
I'm thinking it. Because I'm going on a plane. We've already passed through security.
And like luckily you did that because the damn flight was 6 hours.
Exactly.
So you did good.
So yeah. So I mean, any snack that I could take, it was going in my purse from the Sky Lounge. So of course I get like the Starbucks coffee and and like it's a nice little lounge. So like if you have the opportunity to go,
look into that.
Look into it.
I'm touching your water.
That's okay. Look into it. Go. Definitely go. So that's why he wanted to get through security so fast. Okay. So he wanted to go to the Sky Lounge, to be all bougie and stuff. So anyways, we eat and I was like, okay, this is actually cool. And then, so I kind of like let the whole, security thing slide a bit. Okay. So we get on the plane and, we, obviously he's sitting in first class. I'm sitting in coach. So whatever's fine. We get to Detroit, switch planes. And then from Detroit, we go to Hawaii. So I didn't really see him a whole lot on the plane.
Okay.
And then when we get to Hawaii, it was like still really early. And I'm just in like my glee. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like I'm in Hawaii. Like this is awesome. And he was in the military. So he was stationed in Hawaii at one point. So it wasn't like really that exciting to him, but he hasn't been back in a long time. So we go to pick up the rental car and he's rude to the person at the rental car place. And like her little name tag was like, I'm in training. And I'm just like, you know, I didn't say anything until after. And I said to him, I was just like, man, I was like, you were really rude to her. Yeah. Like, you could clearly tell like she's in training. And then he's like, why don't you have my back? And I'm just like, why would I have your back when you're being a dickhead? And then it just like, it just didn't, just escalated from there. And we hadn't even checked into the hotel yet. So like, I'm calling him out on being rude to somebody for no reason. And he did not like that. So I'm like, okay, like, you know, red flag number 2.
Right.
So I'm like, oh my God, I'm here for like 5 days with this guy. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to kind of let it slide. But he just would not stop. And he just got like super defensive with me saying that I wasn't on his side. I'm like, why would I be on your side when you're being an asshole? Like, no, like that's just be a decent human. And then, you know, he like threw in like the race card too. And he's just like, oh, you know, people always give me a hard time, you know, because I'm a black man, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, okay, well, you know, if you're going to be a dickhead, like that's probably why they're being like rude to you, you know? So anyways, like, and I don't know anything about that, you know? So like, I don't know like what kind of things that he's dealt with in his past.
And what he's talking about. But in this instance, he was being an asshole.
He was being an asshole for no reason.
Yeah, so we just going to stick to that.
Exactly.
We know what you're talking about.
Exactly. Okay. So, we get to the hotel and I'm like getting more heated and, you know, I ended up like kind of breaking down and just being like, you know, why are you acting this way? And then he's like, well, you don't understand and la la la. And then it was just,
I'm like, does it have PTSD? Did the switch kind of flip?
I think it was that. I think he doesn't like to be challenged. So anytime somebody challenges him, I noticed that he didn't like it. And I'm a type of person, like, I'm going to speak my mind, but I'm going to be nice about it. You know, at first I was kind of like, you know, that was pretty rude. And then he just snapped. And then I was just like, oh no, you know, like we can talk about it as adults, but if you are just going to get automatically defensive rather than me understanding like what the situation was, you know, this just doesn't seem right. So I kind of let that slide. And you know, at this point, we have not hooked up. We have not had sex.
Okay.
We've only kissed. Okay. When I slept over at his house the night before that we left, he never tried to sleep with me. Okay. At all. Because you think like, okay, I got a girl in my bed. I'm going to like try to get it in. I'm taking her to Hawaii. Yeah. Nothing. There was a reason for that. Okay, there was a reason.
Oh, let's keep going.
Okay. There was a reason for that. So, you know, the first night in Hawaii, I was like super excited. We went down to the beach. We walked around and he had to go to work the next day for a couple, or no, not the next day, but the day after for a couple hours. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, well, like, let's, you know, we woke up in the morning. We were at the Marriott. So they had like food there. We went down for breakfast. And I was like, okay, well, what are we going to do today? And he's like, oh, well, you know, why don't we go see like Pearl Harbor? I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. Like, I would love to go see Pearl Harbor. So we went there. And it was just like the same kind of thing. Like, it was like he didn't want to wait in line. He was constantly rushing through. And I mean, it's touristy, you know, like everybody wants to see Pearl Harbor. You have to wait. It's a somber place, you know, so like be respectful. And he just had an attitude and I just did not understand what his deal was. And I asked him, like, I can feel people's energy. And I asked him, I'm like, are you okay? Yeah. Like, what's wrong? And then he just started to go off and I'm just like, and then at this point, I'm like, all right, it's better for me just to shut up and be quiet. So I pretty much just enjoyed Pearl Harbor by myself. Okay. And he kind of just walked around and like enjoyed it by himself too. He tried to kind of make it up with me a little bit. And I was just like, all right, I'm not going to like let this, you know, ruin the moment or whatever. So, you know, it was just like a series of like constant issues. And I'm just like, I don't understand what his deal is. So anyways, he never tried to sleep with me the first night we got to Hawaii. Okay. So the second night I was like, just have a drink, like just chill out.
Yeah, relax
a little bit. Like we're in Hawaii, like have a drink. And I don't drink. So I'm like, well, if you want to have a drink, like go for it. Like get yourself a drink. I ordered some like DoorDash. I had like some pizza or whatever. I wanted some pizza. We went to the hot tub. We chilled out. And it was a good time. So he kind of relaxed a little bit. And then the next day he had to go to work for a couple hours. So he went to work for a bit. That was the most fun time I had in Hawaii. It was when I was by myself.
What did you do?
Went down to the beach. They had this like all kinds of stuff at the hotel. So I went to like this like, like this painting thing. And like I did all kinds of cool stuff by myself. Like I walked around. I got some like, some like souvenirs. So he was gone for like pretty much like the whole day.
Okay.
And then so I had a good time. Went for a massage. Like I just did my thing. Like I was living it up in Hawaii. It was great. And then that night we were supposed to go to dinner. So we went out to dinner. That was fine. Everything was good. And then that's when he started to kind of like make the moves on me or whatever. And so at this point, after all like the issues that we had, I was more turned off at this point, but I was just kind of like, this dude took you to Hawaii. I kind of felt a little obligated. And I was just kind of like, I'm not really like, maybe I should do it. Like, I just wasn't turning my crank. I wasn't sparking my fire. It wasn't, but like, I'm here. I'm in this hotel. Like, it was just kind of like, So anyways, the worst sex of my entire life.
You have to tell me why.
Why? Oh my God. He was selfish. He did not reciprocate. It was all about him. And it was this big.
No!
You think?
Usually dudes who are this big are very reciprocal.
Maybe it wasn't this big. It was maybe like this big. It was like this big. But you think a man that's 6 foot something, size 13 shoe would be... Okay.
That's what you would think. Now, I ended up dating this guy. He was like, I think he was 6'4", and he was tall, lanky, and he wasn't really that big in that department either. But the worst part about it, though, he didn't know what to do with all of that height. So for me, that was the worst sex. And then the ones who give the worst sex think they give the best sex.
Oh yeah.
But you have to do all of the work because they don't know what they're doing.
They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, at least for my situation. It sounded like it was very similar for you.
So it was just like, it was all about him. Mm-hmm. Like he didn't even know how to do oral sex. Like it was awful. Like it was horrible. Like I couldn't wait for it to be over. I'm like, this is not happening again. And I did, in my mind, I was thinking this, but I didn't verbally say it. I was just kind of like, okay, like we need to end. This needs to end. We need to wrap this up. Yeah. So anyways, I'm like, okay, we still have like 2 or 3 more days in Hawaii. I'm like, all right, let's just do some fun stuff. So we did go to a luau.
Okay.
Which was fun, but he was the type of person that needs attention. So he's like really loud. Okay. So we went to this luau.
Okay.
And he was like super loud and just wanting the attention. And it was just kind of embarrassing. And it was just a lot of people there, but I tried to make the best of it. And, so it was fun. The luau was fun. And then we went to this other like little private beach the next day where like the waves were crashing. It was awesome. It was like a little cove. It was really cool. So, I mean, when we were doing activities, he was fine. But it was like, he just felt irritated. I don't know what the issue was really, to be honest. I think he just didn't like to be challenged or didn't like anybody to like ask him like a question. Because like if I asked him, I'm like, are you okay? Or like, is there something wrong? He would be upset about that.
So crazy.
It was weird. And I'm thinking to myself, this is why he's single. Like
definitely. I wondered. So was he active duty?
No, he was retired. He's been retired for like 20 something years.
20 something years?
Yeah.
Was he active duty or you don't know?
So I don't think he ever did anything like that was traumatic or anything like that. Like this, I realized like this dude is a narcissist. This guy's a narcissist. And he checks all of the boxes on paper and like he was on his best behavior Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then his true colors came out on Sunday. So you get to know somebody when you go on vacation with them real good. Like he never acted like that when we went out. So like lesson learned on that situation. Oh, and here's the best part. So the day that we were supposed to leave from Hawaii, like the flight, we were supposed to leave until like say 3:00 in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. So we had this huge blowout because it was like a buildup over the course of days because like I kind of ate a lot of it and like let things slide. But like for somebody to just be constantly rude like that for no reason, and for me to like bring it up to you and just be like, is something something the matter? And like, you just kind of brush me off and like, I don't want to talk about it. And just be like, it just was not, we were not vibing at all. We vibed Thursday, we vibed Friday, we vibed Saturday. We did not vibe on Sunday. So by the time that we were getting ready to leave, I had this huge blowout to the point where like I'm crying because like I don't like confrontation. So like I just was so emotional. I wasn't like sad. I was more like
probably pissed off.
I was pissed off. I was just like, you know, like kind of like, what is this dude's problem? You know what I mean? So I just let him have it. I was like, this is why you're single. I'm like, I just let him have it. In Hawaii. We were getting ready to leave. So
I'd have been afraid that man would have left me in Temple.
I had my visa. So I'm like, I knew I was getting on a flight. I had my ticket. Like I was good. So, so it was the day that we were leaving. And I just kind of like, it was like word vomit. Like I couldn't hold it in anymore. So I just let him have it. And I was like, this is why you're single. Like I just went off. And then I was like, I need to get away from you. So I went and booked myself a massage to like relax. So I went and got a massage. I come back to the room. All of his stuff is gone. Okay. He packed up everything. All of his stuff is gone. So I texted him. I'm like, hey, am I getting an Uber to the airport? Like, are we going together? Like, what's going on? And he's like, at this point, I would have paid $200 for an Uber to go to the airport by myself.
Right.
So he's like, no, he's like, you're going to come with me. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I go downstairs and he's like there in the car, like ready to go. And like, we didn't say a word to each other at the airport. Didn't say a word to each other when we checked in. Nothing. It was very awkward, but I was like, this is the most peace I've had in days. So I'm like, it was bad. So we get to the airport and I could not wait to be separated from him. He's in first class. I'm in coach. I'm like, please put me as far away from him on the plane as possible. Right. So we were delayed leaving Hawaii. Okay. And so he's, settled up in first class with his, Sky Miles and all this bougie champagne or whatever. And I'm just happy that I'm away from him. So our flight was delayed going to Detroit. And we had to like book it to get to the flight to Atlanta. So he was at the front of the plane and I'm like way at the back. Okay. So I had already went ahead and rebooked my flight because I had like the Delta app. So I had already rebooked my flight from Detroit to Atlanta on the next flight. It was like an hour later. So he it messages me as soon as we land in Detroit and it was just like, we got to run to the gate. And I'm like, yeah, like, I'll see you in Atlanta kind of thing. Yeah. So he is like booking it through the airport, trying to get to the gate. And I'm like taking my time, like do my thing or whatever. I'm like, I'm fine, and he gets to the gate and like they're getting ready to close the door. And, he's just like, come on. I'm like, no, I like rebooked my flight. It's fine. And he's just like, throws his hands up. And I'm like, leave me in Detroit, please. So he left me in Detroit. I went and got myself a coffee. I was great. Okay. I've never been more happy in my life. Okay. So I messaged him like through text message and I was just like, hey, I was like, my car is at his place. So I'm like, I'll get an Uber from the airport to your house. Like, don't wait around for me. I did not want him to do anything else for me at this point.
Yeah. After all of that.
So I get an Uber. I get to the airport. I get an Uber to his house. I come up to his house and he's got the garage door open. My car's in his garage and all like I had used 2 of his suitcases because I didn't have a big enough suitcase. So he had brought down all of my stuff that I had left there and put it in the garage. Like he did not want me to go back in his house. So I did not want to fold everything and put it in the suitcase. So I'm like, do you have a garbage bag? So I'm stuffing everything into a garbage bag, throw it in the trunk of my car. And I'm like, bye. That was the last I've ever heard from him or seen him or anything. And then the funny thing is there's this thing on Facebook where it's like, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's like, are we dating the same guy?
Yeah, I'm a part of that.
He was in there. I kid you not. So I'm scrolling through because I'm still dating and his picture popped up. They're like, NET on cue. And I'm like, girl, let me tell you the story. So I was just like, he may have a different experience with somebody else, but this was my experience.
No, I think once somebody's impatient and has narcissistic traits, it's going to show. Yeah. Because like you say, he kind of I wouldn't say love bomb you, but again, you didn't experience any
No.
of these things at all. And then all of a sudden, as soon as he gets you on this flight and y'all are at the airport,
It was downhill. Yeah.
that's wild. So what would you say you learned?
So from that situation, I would never, well, first of all, have money to get out if you need to. You know what I mean? So like if you like don't go somewhere where you have no way to like pay for a hotel or get out or anything like that. Obviously I told my mom where I was going and stuff. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to Hawaii. And she was like, yeah, okay. Like she was all for it. Like, you know, my mom's a little crazy. So she was like
Free spirited.
yeah, she's free spirited. So she was all about it. She was like, yeah, if he's gonna take you to Hawaii, go for it. But I learned like I will never go on a trip with somebody that I haven't known for longer than 3 days.
Okay.
And I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't overall bad because I did get a trip out of it.
And you got to experience some stuff from Hawaii.
I got to experience some stuff from Hawaii, but honestly, like I need to go back because that experience was not what I was expecting. But I definitely learned a lot about like, you know, the type of guy that I wanted and what I don't want. And I definitely need somebody longer than 3 days before I go on a trip with him ever again. That will never happen again.
Got you. And then as far as like, do you still like look to check all the boxes off on the dating apps, or are you a little bit more lenient now?
So, well, I am in a relationship now. It's still new. And let me tell you something. He is not on any of the boxes that I had checked off. Totally the complete opposites. I'll tell you that later. But,
Okay.
but yeah, like, I mean, when you've been married, when, you know, like kind of what you are looking for, you can't be too rigid, you know, and I realized that because I had a checklist. I had like, you know, he's got to have a good job, like, and I didn't want to have somebody that had kids either because I wanted to have a child with somebody, you know, I kind of wanted to start something fresh with somebody. So, but I'm 37 and not many men my age, you know, don't have kids. A lot of them do. So I had to be a little bit more lenient on that. So I had to kind of be a little bit more lenient on the boxes, you know, but definitely there's a couple things that like I can't like, you know, is a deal breaker for me. Like I need somebody that's active. If they're not active, I can't because I have lived such a healthy lifestyle. I can't be with a smoker.
Okay.
You know, so there's certain things that like I won't stray to. But like you just have to be a little not as rigid, you know, because when I was rigid, I got that.
You got the narcissist.
Yeah.
He sounded like a narcissist, like you said. Okay. I want to circle back just a little bit to like your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn from your marriage? How long were you married for?
4 years.
4 years?
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn from your marriage as far as what you want and what you don't want? Like entering into the dating scene after being married and
yeah. So him and I split when I was 31. So I had dated a couple other guys after him. But through my marriage, I'm an alpha female. And, you know, I like to have things kind of like the way that I want it. You know what I mean? So you have to learn to give a little. Like I did not know how to be submissive at all. Like I was a boss bitch. Like I was control. I owned a business. I had a gym. Like I was dominant. And I married a submissive man. And clearly that does not work for me. You know, I need somebody that is dominant.
When did the switch flip? Because I've run into the same issues in a way. Like when did it flip?
So honestly, like I married my best friend, but I didn't marry my lover. You know, he was my best friend. I could talk to him about anything. And it was like 2 years into our marriage, it felt like we were just roommates. Like there was no spark. Like I didn't want to have sex with him. Like it was just like, and when we did have sex, it was like, he was just submissive. Like I did not feel like I was like desirable. Like, you know, I wanted somebody dominant. Like I'm dominant in my daily life. I don't want to be dominant in the bedroom.
Right.
You know, I want to be totally submissive. Like, and he just didn't have that zhuzh.
Got you. And it took you about 2 years into.
Yeah.
And then the last 2 years of the relationship, like how did it just dissolve?
Well, he was in the military, so he traveled a lot. And, you know, I never cheated, but I had an emotional kind of affair with somebody, but I felt like I was cheating. but I never physically did it. But I started to find other men attractive. I'm like, okay, this is not right. If I'm finding other men attractive, clearly I'm lacking something in my marriage. So when he was gone on like away on training, I was busy working, and we would Skype and stuff like that. But like, we just didn't maintain that connection and that communication. And it just kind of like slowly the fire went out and we stopped dating. Like, it's super important to date your partner all the time. Communication is key. And I had to learn how to be submissive, because that was such a hard thing for me, because I feel safe when I'm in control. When I'm not in control, I don't feel safe.
Where did that come from?
That comes from my childhood, for sure.
Got you.
It comes from my childhood, for sure. Like, I've done a lot of like deep work and therapy on that. And, you know, my mom was the same way. Like, she was always in control, and that provided her that sense of safety. If I let go of that control, then somebody could hurt me. I could, you know, if I wasn't in control of like the bills being paid, we could miss rent, or do you know what I mean? So it was always, I always felt like I needed to be in control of like the finances, the house, make sure everything like was done.
Let me ask you, did you come from a single parent household?
Yeah, my mom was a single mother.
Got you. Okay, because I know I came from a 2-parent household, but for me, I think the reason why I'm the way that I am is because my parents' relationship was so chaotic. I didn't want to rely on, I guess,
A man.
right? And it made me, I think, lean more towards the, I don't want to call them, what do you call? I don't want to call them feminine or the other. I'm trying to think of
Submissive?
Submissive. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, that's what made me lean more towards submissive. And I'm still trying to find my way into what I fully want as far as that department, as far as the alpha submissive man. Where do you fit in that?
So like, you have to have a balance. Like, everything is all about like yin and yang and having a balance. Like, you know, I can't be dominant all the time, and I can't be submissive all the time. So it has to like, and when you find a partner, they have to learn how to play that role too. So like, they have to learn like when to be dominant and when to be submissive. Like, it's all about give and take, you know, like, and I realized like, I can't have everything my way, and my partner can't have everything his way all the time. Like, it has to be a give and take. If a man always wants to be dominant 24/7, he's only going to get a submissive woman, and that is it. Yeah. Like, he's never going to get a woman that has any dominant qualities that's going to want to stay for the long term. Because no woman that it has both sides is going to want to be controlled by a man 24/7. It's not going to work. Yeah. So if they want like these baddies, these boss bitches, like, they need to learn how to know when to be dominant and know when to just ease off and let her take the reins.
Gotcha.
A little bit.
What other qualities do a man need to have, you think, in order to have the yin and the yang and be able to do both?
Oh, that's a good question. It's hard. Like, I think it's just communication.
Yeah, that's the first one that popped up in my
communication, and also like, just one thing that I realized too is like having like those conversations where if you find that a man like, say if a man does something to you that, you know, maybe kind of rubs you the wrong way, or like hurts your feelings, or, you know, you just didn't like it, and you like approach him and you're like, hey, you know, I really didn't like it when you said this, or like, this made me kind of feel a certain way. If he gets defensive right away, then that's his ego. He doesn't want to hear it. But if he is just like, you know what, I'm really sorry, like, that was not my intention, he actually tries to understand like where you're coming from, then he is operating more on his like feminine submissive side, you know, because a lot of men like don't want to hear that they're wrong, or they hurt somebody's feelings, or, you know, so it's just kind of like seeing how they react to certain situations.
Got you. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I'm going to dive into these questions.
Okay.
Plan for keeps cards.
Okay.
So let's see.
So what is this?
So basically, this is just regular cards. I'm going to ask you questions you can answer. So we'll talk about the dating game concept to see if you would be interested in the show. So what does a relationship look like and mean to you?
A relationship looks like to me is total trust and honesty. They have to be your best friend. You have to be able to, you know, tell them anything, you totally trust them with everything. What was the other question?
That's pretty much it. That was it. That was one full question. What does it look like to you? What does it mean to you? Yeah.
Definitely trust. Okay. Trust is a huge one.
Okay. What's the most invested you've ever been in a relationship?
Ooh. Honestly, like, I've been invested in all my relationships that I've had.
What's the craziest thing you've ever done in a relationship you were invested in?
The craziest thing I've ever done.
See, I'd be so jealous of people who have to really sit and think, because a whole bunch of wild ass shit pop up in my.
Really? Like, give me an example so I can like, because I'm drawing a blank right now.
Even if it's as simple as like giving somebody a whole bunch of money to help them, or
Okay, I did co-sign for a car for a guy once.
oh, I've never done that. How did that end good for you?
Okay, so this is what happened. It did end fine, but like, so this was the last guy that I was with before the guy that I'm with now. Okay. So I was with him for 3 years.
Okay.
I helped him with like his business, and he went through bankruptcy, so I helped him through that.
Okay.
And I bought a house in Canada, and he was a contractor, so he built and like renovated the whole house for me. I paid for all the materials, he just did the labor.
Gotcha.
So when I sold the house, I was like, hey, you did all this work for me. Like, you know, I made like $100K off my house. So I want to, you know, give you some money. Cause like, I just didn't feel right that he did all this work to it.
Yeah.
And I literally asked him like multiple times, like, you know, give me like give me a quote on what you would charge somebody.
Yeah.
3 times I asked him, and I'm like, I'm not going to like, just like, you know, keep asking you to take my money. Like, give me a quote and I'll give you the money. So I got him a brand new 21, you know, custom Chevy Silverado. Like the car in Canada was like $75,000. Like it was expensive. So I put it in my name.
Okay.
And he was like making the payments on it.
I feel like that's not that crazy though, because he did all this work for you.
Yeah.
You said you also unaware of alpha female. I know, and your experience could be totally different from mine. Mm-hmm. I know I put myself in predicaments where I even helped where maybe the relationship wasn't as reciprocal because the person wasn't on that level to even reciprocate back. Have you ever been in a situation like that?
Yes. So like majority of the men that I've been with, I've always been the breadwinner. I've always made more money, been a lot more financially better off. Yeah, I've always been the one to like, you know, maybe pay for something in advance. Like, you know, it was just like I felt like the man sometimes, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like,
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, I felt like the guy in the relationship.
Got you. Now you're in this new relationship. How do you feel now?
So, okay, so he's 11 years younger than me.
Ooh.
So, like,
this is a new trend though.
And I did not want to like date this guy or get with him, but like we met at the gym, and you know, like, so financially I'm in a better position than he is. Obviously I'm 11 years older.
Yeah.
You know, but like, and I told myself I would never date potential again, and like but you know, it just, I don't know, like I don't know if I'm repeating the same habits again, but it just, I don't know, like all the men that I've dated like recently before him were always older than me by like either my age or older. The oldest guy that I dated was 52, and he ended up actually dying.
Girl.
Yeah. Like 3 weeks later after I broke it off with him. But anyways, that's another story. I'm telling you, I've had some crazy stories. So, a lot of the men that I've dated that were my age or older, they have so much baggage and they haven't healed themselves, and they bring in stuff from other relationships. So I'm like, okay, well, do I date younger that hasn't been broken and damaged? Or like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm okay with dating an older man, but you know, like, heal yourself, like go to some therapy, like work on your, like, don't like bring in past stuff from your ex into the new thing, you know? So I kind of like, against my better judgment, like not really against my better judgment.
You a big old smile came across your face, and now he's in his late 20s. So yeah, it's not like he's like 18.
Yeah, so he's 25.
Oh, he's in his mid 20s.
He's 25. So I know, right? And like at first I was just like, no, like he just wants to hook up, you know, get that cougar thing out of the way.
It's weird now. It seems like, I don't know if it's because the internet and all this stuff going on about healing your childhood wounds, blah, 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 but younger men do some younger men.
They love it.
Yeah, they seem like they eat that up, and they
love
commit
it
faster, and they're doing better than these older men.
Oh my God.
Noticing that.
It's been amazing. Like, this is the healthiest relationship I've ever had.
I see the smile. Like,
this has been, and like so I met him at the gym. So like we both box, but he's an amateur boxer and he's gonna turn pro this year. So we met at the gym. So we were just friends when we first met.
Okay.
And because of the huge age gap, like I never looked at him that way.
Yeah.
So like I was dating guys and I would go to the gym, and it was like majority of the guys that I train with, they're all like, I was pretty much the only female there.
Got you.
So like I would make friends with all the guys. And, I'd go in and I'd tell them about like my dating or whatever. And they would talk about like the girls that they were like messing around with or whatever. So I never thought anything of it. And then the coach kept saying to like me, he was like, hey, like Lou really likes you. And I'm like, what? Like, no way. Like he's 25. I'm like 37. Like what? Like, how would we even like, no. And he's like, man, he won't stop talking about you and da 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 da. And I'm like, you are so full of it. Like, cause he's a big talker and like, you just can't like, listen to anything that he says. So I'm like, no, like, I don't believe it. And then it was just kind of like, he kept on and on and on. And like, I kind of was just like, is he like, does he actually really like me? So he's like, let me put you on three-way. I'm going to call him right now. You be quiet. Let me put you on three-way. So I'm on the phone and he's calling him on three-way and asking him. And then he says my name. And I was just like, what? And then after that, I was just like, oh my God, maybe he does like me.
Oh, wow.
So then, of course, the next day at the gym, everything was different. And then he was like kind of flirting with me a little bit and stuff. And I was just like, and obviously I'm physically attracted to him totally. Yeah. But I'm like thinking like logically, I'm like, what can this guy offer me? You know what I mean? Like, he still needs to get his life organized. Like, I mean, I'm still trying to get my life organized since I moved here too. But like, I'm not where I want to be at this age either. So I'm like, okay, well, and I asked him, I was like, well, you want to like come and do a workout with me one day? And then, so he came over to my apartment building. We did a workout downstairs. And then, of course, it just kind of like escalated from there. And then, we got together. It's only new. So it's still not very like, it's still very new.
It's fresh.
Like really fresh. So we got together in December, like the beginning of December. Okay. And then like, it's just been like snowballing ever since. And it's great. Like I'm totally in love with him. Like I went and met his dad. His dad lives in Maryland. He was like, asked him if he wanted to come up and watch like this comedy thing that he was going to do, like stand-up comedy, like his first time. He's like, yeah, you should bring Erika with you. So I flew up and I met his dad. And yeah, it's been like amazing. Like I told him, I was just like, I'm going to marry you one day. We're going to have a baby.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And he says the same thing to me too. And I'm like, are you, but like, I believe it. You know what I mean? It's not like, is he just saying this to like, it's like, it feels totally different than any other relationship I've ever had. Yeah. So I don't know if I'm crazy. I don't know if it's going to blow up in my face.
I don't know.
But I don't think it will.
It feels good right now.
It feels good. Yeah. But I am definitely in love with this guy for sure. Like it. Yeah.
What's the difference though? I know besides the age. Because it seems like I got it. What do you feel is the difference?
I just feel like he genuinely cares.
Okay.
And like I can see a future with him, and like he has opened up to me, and like we're both Aquarius.
Oh.
And we're both Aquarius.
It's working out. Y'all both Aquarius. Mm-hmm.
And we don't trust. He'll be 26 on the 4th of February, so I'll be 38. So but yeah, and like we've had a lot of like deep conversations, like, and I don't know, I just feel really comfortable. And like, even though like he's attractive and he's younger, like I don't feel threatened by like younger women or other women. Cause like, I mean, I know I can get another 25-year-old if I wanted to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You don't look your age. I was saying,
and I get that all the time.
Yeah, you don't.
So I'm confident. I'm not one of those like, who are you looking at? Then I'm like, okay, you can look. You know what you got here. You can look. That's okay. Cause I'm not like insecure because it's, if it's not going to work out with him, I know that I would,
Got you.
Yeah.
I'm going to stumble back a second, and then we could talk a little bit more about like the age difference.
Okay.
You said something that I've never heard a woman say.
What?
I've always heard men say this. And mind you, I'm going to be real. And I normally hear this in the Black community.
Okay.
Say this.
Okay.
You just said.
Okay.
And I don't want to deal with baggage. So you date younger. Do men say that just all the way around? Like, where do you think you got that idea from? It's true.
Because I've noticed it. I've noticed since I was dating, like a lot of men that were like my age or like 35 and over, they are so like afraid of like therapy or like healing themselves, or they're carrying, you know, trauma from past relationships, whether they've been cheated on or whether they've been the one that cheated. And they carry baggage. Men, especially older men, like they carry baggage that, I mean, not all of them, I don't want to generalize it, but they do carry like things from past relationships into the next one, or they want everything their way.
Gotcha.
And I can't do that.
I feel that. Okay. Because I know for me, like because what you said is true. Like it makes definitely on like the surface level, it makes sense. Right. But then I'll start thinking like, how can this person really, like kind of what you said, how can they relate to me? How can they, what does that dynamic look like? I know you said what it looked like. What does it give for you? What do you give for him? Like, how do you guys, because I know I think, I'm not too far from 25, but at the same time, I'm thinking like how I was at 25.
Oh my God.
And how the dudes were at 25. And it's like, hell no.
So sometimes I do see the age difference. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, okay, he's being 25 right now. Like some of the slang, I'm like, what? I'm like, what does that mean? And then he just like jokes. He's like, oh, you're such an old head or whatever. And I'm like, but I got you. You know what I mean? So like, I'll play into it a little bit, but but he's not really rigid. Like he's very open-minded.
Okay.
You know, so I think that's one thing about the younger guys, or even younger people in general. Okay. Is that they're a lot more open-minded. They're not as rigid and closed off. Okay. And I even told him, I'm like, you know, just because I'm older doesn't mean that like, you know, I still don't have things to learn. Like, you know, you have a totally different background than I do, and you've grown up totally different than me and a totally different perspective. So like, there's a lot of things that I can learn from you, which is there's a lot of things that you can learn from me, but we have to learn together. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, there's sometimes where his age comes out for sure. And, you know, but I'm also pretty young at heart too. Like I don't feel my age. You know, in the corporate world, obviously, like I'm professional in business and all that stuff. But in my personal life, like I'm just a big kid at heart. Yeah. You know, so it works. Yeah. And with him, I told him, I was just like, you know, I want to start like bringing you to like some work stuff and like getting you into, you know, like the business side of things, because, you know, if you want to go pro with boxing and, you know, start to get like bigger, you are going to have to conduct yourself a certain way, you know? You can't be just like ratchet, you know what I mean? Like you have to, like, you got to present that athlete, right? If he wants to take this boxing career seriously, you know, and make it in like, you know, and he also wants to do real estate too. So I'm like, if you want to do that, like, you know, you have to, obviously you'll find your people in your niche of who works well with you, but it is a professional job, you know? So,
how slowly are you going to ease? I think, because I think about my own past experiences, I'd be like, are you going to ease slow into showing them stuff? Or are you ready to, cause like you said, you're in love. Are you ready to just jump in? Like, where you, are you cautious at all? Or you like, no,
I'm not cautious. I'm not cautious anymore. Like it's, you kind of know when somebody's ready for something, you know, like I can read people very well. I can just feel somebody's energy. And, you know, a lot of the times what I've had to learn is how to be quiet. Like I'm the type of person that's just like, I'm a problem solver. I want to find a solution. And sometimes like, you know, you can't find a solution for everybody. They have to figure it out for themselves.
That's the thing.
So I will just be quiet, and then I'll just kind of take a step back and be like, okay. And then half the time he comes back to me anyways, and he'll come to me and just be like, oh babe, like, you know what I mean? So I don't have to say anything, you know? But just basically like when he's ready, you know, like
when he's
ready.
Because I think in the past, when I think about myself, I think I used to push stuff like, you should do this. They'd be like, okay. And then I'm helping them build this boat, and then it doesn't work out. So I guess my mind kind of went there. So I was like, are you going to ease into it? Are you going to, but you're like.
So I ask questions to find out where his head is at. So like, you know, and it's kind of a sales tactic that I've used kind of thing. So it's almost like you don't want to like tell them what to do, but you position it in a way
where they kind of make their own
decision. But you know what I mean? So it's like, and that's what people do in sales all the time, right? So they're not being sold. It's like you're making the decision, but I'm kind of just like guiding you to it. You know what I mean? So like I've used that on him, you know, I'd just be like, okay, well, you know, like, what do you think?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's literally all I've said. And then he's just like, well, you know, and I'm like, okay, well, why do you feel that way?
Yeah.
You know, and it just gets him thinking. So it's not like, you should do this, you should do that. So it's like, I don't want to say I'm manipulating him, but it's just kind of like, you know, I'm letting him.
I think that's the woman rolling away that they play in the background, and they, you know, and the man think that they came up with the idea.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the same shit.
Exactly.
I got another question for you. Earlier in the podcast, you said that it's totally different dating in Canada versus here in Georgia. I want to hear the differences in the men.
Okay.
And do you date specifically black men, you would say?
So since I've been to Georgia, I've only been dating black men. And there's a reason for that.
Gotcha.
So I was married to a white guy.
Okay.
And I've dated like other, you know, like men before. I've dated like black when I was in high school and like in my early 20s, like, you know, Latino and like different races and stuff. So I don't like discriminate or anything.
Gotcha.
But as you can tell, I'm not the typical white Southern belle. Okay. So, you know, and I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine. You know, in Canada, they're very like, it's not very conservative, like the area that I lived in. Like, it's very, you know, multicultural. Like, it's not a very conservative place. You know, there's a lot of mix of people. Like, I mean, there's a lot of mix of people here, but there's still a lot of like conservative people that live here.
Here too, yeah.
And so I was married to a white guy. And then when I moved back down here, I'm like, okay, I'm going to see what's up. Mm-hmm. So when I went on the dating apps, I was only getting approached until liked or swiped on by black men. And I was just like, okay, damn. I'm like, all right. So, and the only white guys that would like, want to swipe or whatever were like, just were not on my level. Gotcha. You know, like I'm like, it's cute, it's sweet, but I'm totally not interested.
Wow, was this on Bumble?
I was on Tinder, I was on Bumble, I was on Hinge, I was on everything.
I'm shocked to hear that.
I was on everything.
Got you. Okay.
And here's another thing too, is I'm a very confident woman. Okay. So confidence to me is super attractive. And like when I go out places, like whether it's to the gas station or the car wash or the grocery store or whatever, black men just have this confidence about them. They could be boot ass ugly and they will come up and spit all the game on you.
That's a fact.
And I'm just like, did you just come and see me looking like this right now? And I'm like, you have got all the confidence in the world. And white men don't do that here.
Yeah.
You know, they don't do that.
Do they do that in Canada? Do white men do that in Canada?
Not like how black men are here. Like black men, they know what they want. And they will come up to you and they will talk to you. And like, to me, that's very attractive.
Gotcha.
So I was just like, okay, we need to go black, baby. So I've been mostly dating black men because I do like the confidence.
Yeah.
And like, I haven't really dated any white guys since I've been here. Yeah. So I don't know if they're dominant, but I do. It's a different culture. Like, it's totally different. And, you know, and I like that. I like that, you know, like a man is going to be like, no, this is what we're doing. And I'm just like, okay, you know what I mean? Yes. But I don't get that by like, and if my ex-husband were to tell me that, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Do you know what I mean? But like, you know, a muscular, confident black man tells me that, I'm like, okay, whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like whatever you want. So, but yeah, it was just different. It was just really different. So, and I told my mom, I was like, you know, my mom, she's very traditional. Like she's European. She immigrated here from Europe. Okay. So, you know, I told her, I was like, Mom, I was just like, you know, I was showing her the guys that I was dating and stuff. And she's like, they're all black. And I'm like, yeah, like that's what I'm attracted to, right? Like, you know, that's kind of what my thing is right now. And she's like, well, don't forget about the white ones. And I'm like, Mom, the white ones will not talk to me. I'm like, and right now, like these black men are looking sexy as hell. Like they work out, like they take care of their body. They smell good. I mean, some of them do. But, you know, it's just, there's something different. There's something different.
Then dipped over.
I dipped over.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I dipped over. For sure.
let me ask you, you want him, the guy you with now, marriage, all this stuff is going through your head. How do you think your mom would feel?
Well, I already told her that, like, you know, I'm probably gonna marry a black man.
Yeah.
And, you know, just because, like I said, the confidence, and that's what I'm attracted to.
Yeah.
And she's like, she kind of had a moment, a little bit of a moment. I mean, she's 67, like she's older.
Okay.
And where she's from in Hungary, like there's
no black.
no, it's predominantly white. So she moved here when she was 19.
Gotcha.
So, you know, it's predominantly white. So she's kind of having a hard time wrapping her head around it. But like I said to her, I was like, Mom, I was like, the only thing that should matter is if I'm happy and if he treats me well. And she's like, yeah, you're right. So I kind of have to like my mom is, you know, like she has her own set ways, which I'm okay with, but I kind of have to remind her, be like, listen, like it doesn't matter, you know, what the color of somebody's skin is, as long as they treat me well and I'm happy. That's it. That's all that should matter.
Well, she's kind of open to.
She's open. Yeah.
She's open to, you know.
Yeah, she's open.
Knocking down those subconscious. What is it? Is it unconscious biases? I think that's what it is.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And the way that things ought to be. Right. You know, so, and like, we are going up to New Orleans, next month for one of his fights, and my aunt lives in Mississippi.
Okay.
So I told her, I was on my way here and I was talking to her on the phone. I told her, I was like, hey, we're going to be coming down to New Orleans in February. I want you and Uncle Steve to come and meet my boyfriend. Yeah. And so I told her about him, and she's way open-minded. Like my cousin has a biracial child, you know, so like she's very like, it would be a good intro for him. And I kind of, and here's the messed up part too, is that his mom, so my boyfriend's mom, told him when he was younger, don't ever bring a white girl home. Oh, yeah. So like we are both kind of in that, yeah.
So has he. So of course, right? Because you met his dad.
I met his dad. So his mom and his dad are separated.
Okay.
His dad raised him. And his mom, like, was just kind of not really in the picture. So he's not super close to his mom, but she lives here.
Got you.
And I'm like, well, you know, I was like, how about this? How about you'll meet my mom when I meet your mom? And he's like, okay, fine. No, yeah, so we're going to wait for a little bit and stuff. But I just said to him, I was like, just tell your mom the same thing. Like, it doesn't matter as long as I'm happy and she treats me right. That's it.
That's all it should be.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all it should be. Okay. So last question.
Okay.
Thinking of this relationship, where would you want to see it in the next 5 years?
Definitely having a child, for sure. I think with my age right now, I'm thinking probably just having one kid. Because I do want to be with him for a little bit before I have, like, I'm not ready to have a baby right now. Yeah. So I'll be 38 in a week. So, like, I would like to, you know, be a mom by like, or even pregnant by 41, 42, you know, so I'm okay with that. Like, I want to be with him for a couple of years, you know, definitely. Have us time. But I do want to be married again, do want to have a child, and just like travel and, you know, just kind of do all of the couple things. But I definitely want to be a mom for sure.
This was so
for sure. I want to be a mom. I mean, I have 2 dogs that I treat like babies. Yeah. And, you know, so like, he's like, yeah, you're definitely a mom for sure. So I treat my dogs as my kids right now. Yeah. And, but yeah, so I want to have a family, you know, I want to have that family dynamic and, you know, so with the mother and the father there, because my dad wasn't there, and, you know, and finding the right person to have a child with too, because that's the thing, right?
Oh, that's very important. I'm going to put that in your ear. If you see any red flags, maybe too. Don't do it.
No, and it's still new. Yeah. So I'm gonna take my time. Yes. Like, that's why I want to be with him for at least a couple years before I even like think about kids. Like, I'm not ready to pop one out right now. Yeah. And neither is he. You know, like, I just told him, I was like, you know, I do want to like start getting pregnant, or like, you know, by maybe 41 or 42. Wow. So that's a couple of years.
And I'm saying wow to a guy, not a young guy. That's good. Maybe because young guys, like I said, they're more conscious, they're more open, but they also run from serious situations.
I straight up told him, I was just like, if you don't want to have like, so 39, 40, 41, that's like 3 years, maybe 4 years. I'm like, if you do not want to have a kid in the next 4 years, you need to tell me now, because if like, this won't work then, because the longer that I wait, obviously it's going to be harder. I mean, even though I take care of my body and stuff, my eggs are still older, you know, unless I freeze them and do all that and stuff. So I did tell him straight up. I'm very to the point. Like, why waste time? Like, if he doesn't want to have a kid until he's 35, like that's too late for me.
Yeah. Ooh.
Do you know what I mean? So I have to you have to be very honest in what you want.
Absolutely.
And upfront.
Yep, that's a part of intentional dating.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, girl. Okay. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
I know. I told you I have a lot.
No, thank you so much for sharing. I know what you gave is going to help some people. So that is good. Tell the audience where they can find you.
I am on Instagram at Real Erika with a K French. I'm also on Facebook. Or hopefully when you tag me in this, you can find me there as well too. But I am on Instagram.
Got you. And you are a realtor. So
yeah, I'm a realtor in Atlanta metro area. So if anybody is looking to buy or sell a house, and I am going to be getting into photography this year as well too. So, but I want to start doing like helping out some like smaller businesses that might need to update like their website and things like that. And but yeah, so that's kind of
when you started that part.
I am probably going to be starting that in the next couple of months.
Okay, so pretty soon.
Yeah, pretty soon.
Also, well, I want to thank you for coming on.
Okay, thank you for having me. This was awesome. I had so much fun.
Awesome. And I want to thank all of the listeners for tuning in. And until